The next part of the homework was a little trickier. Make the flick names editable after you've already added them to the list. And there was a huge hint in the README to use something called Contenteditable. Contenteditable is an attribute that you can add that does exactly what it sounds like. So since it is the name that we want to be editable, that would be this flick name span. If we just stick the attribute Contenteditable on there, what happens? Contenteditable equals true. All right, let's add a few. And now I can click on one of them and I can type. Piece of cake. Now it doesn't actually save the changes I make, does it? But by golly, I can click in there and change them. So there are a few things we could do to make it save the changes. We could listen for a blur event. We talked about focus the other day. Blur is the opposite of focus. If something has focus and then it ceases to have focus, that would be a blur event, and that's something you can listen to. So we could just listen for a blur on that, and when that happens, save the changes. But then we also need to give the users a clue that those things are editable in the first place, which you can do one of a few ways. For example, you can make it so that when you hover over something that's editable, it adds a border around it, the same kind of border they would see if they actually focused the thing. But let's go ahead and make an edit button and do it that way. So we actually won't start it out with Contenteditable true. We'll add Contenteditable true afterwards. But let's notice one more thing before we do that. Let's have a look at one of these. So this thing right here is editable, right? That would be the span with the class of flick name. Now that it's inspected, that is $0 over here. So if we grab $0, we'll see that is this span. If we check $0 dot content, okay, I see Contenteditable. That's true. Notice this also is Contenteditable. Also true. So what's the significance there? Is Contenteditable is read-only. You can't change it. You can't set it to false. You could set this one to false. So you can actually use that to change the value. But here's something else. What if it's not there? What if that attribute isn't there at all? There we go. It's $0. $0 dot content editable is inherit. Inherit is the default value, which is neither true nor false. It's whatever the value was of its parent. So that doesn't tell us whether it's editable or not. But $0 dot is content editable will always tell us whether it's actually editable. So that's something we can check. And that's false. So that might be useful. So let's add the edit button. So I'll add another button, and I'll make it the very first one. We'll say button class of edit, and a class of button, of course. We'll put an icon in there. And what should it be? Let's look at Font Awesome, search for something suitable. We want it to edit, so what do we have? We have all these various pencil icons. Those are good. And then it looks like we have some other kind of text editing features. I like just pencil. That works for me. FA pencil. How's that look? Yeah, I can dig that. Let's make the button actually do a thing. Rendered list item is really, really long now with all these buttons. So this time, the button is edit. And what do we want the button to do? Let's call a function called edit flick, or just edit, whatever. Edit flick. Yep, let's go ahead and pass the flick in as an argument in addition to binding this. And let's see what we can do. Edit flick. That's going to take the flick as an argument. It's also going to take the event as an argument. I'm not sure we actually need to do anything with that, but we can. Depends on how we want to grab the list item right. We could do it using event target closest like we did the first few times, or we could use the query selector trick that we used last time, or I mean for that matter we could just pass it in as another argument in here, right? We have the list item, I think. Yep, const item. We could pass that in as an argument too. There are lots of ways we could achieve the same thing. That's kind of the point here. If you want to, you could just pass it in as another argument, and you could have done that all along. But we didn't know that trick of bind just yet. So now we're passing in flick and the list item, which I will call list item here for consistency's sake. And we will always receive the event as the last argument because it is an event handler. So we're going to need the actual span, right? Because it's not the entire list item we're interested in. It's that little span where the flick name actually appears. So inside the list item, we can call query selector and look for the class flick name, right? Class of flick name on the span. We'll save that. I'm going to call it name field. And let's see. What do we want to happen? When we click this thing and it's not already editable, we want to make it editable. So let's check. If name field dot is content editable, which we learned will always return a Boolean that tells us whether it's editable or not, even if that attribute isn't there at all. So if it is editable already, we want to make it no longer editable. If it's not editable to begin with, then we want to make it editable. Right? And this is the part that I want to do first, because it's going to start out not editable. But I don't want to say if not editable and then an else, because having an else with a negative check is just a little too confusing to read. So how do we make it editable? Well, name field dot content editable, I said we can change. We can set it to true or false. Let's see if that works. Right now, if I click here, it doesn't appear to be editable. If I click this and then click in here, it is. Beautiful. So we could, again, make it no longer editable if we click the button again. So name field dot content editable equals false. Let's see how that works. Not editable right now. Now it is. And now it isn't anymore. Very good. Now, clicking that made it editable, but I still had to go and click here to put my cursor in there. So that's probably less than ideal usability wise. So let's go ahead and move the focus to that field as soon as we make it editable. So we make it editable by setting the content editable property to true, and then let's just say name field dot focus. Click. There we go. It's focused. I like that better. Now at this point, the behavior of this button has effectively changed, right? Now that it is editable, clicking it again will make it no longer editable. So I kind of want to change the appearance of this button at that point. So let's get the button so we can do something with it. Const button, and hey, we just clicked on the button, right? So that should be the event target. All right, let's check that. Grab the event target and then console log it. Let's click. And what? The event target is the icon, not the button. Yes, friends, I've been lying to you on purpose the entire time so far about the way that event target actually works. I never said anything that wasn't true. I just left out an important detail. What is the event target? It is the thing on which the event occurred. Since the event was a click, the target is the thing you clicked. The most specific thing you clicked. And I clicked right on the icon. If I clicked out here, then you see the target is the button. But if I click right on the icon, the target is the icon. It doesn't matter that we were listening for a click of the button. That's the thing we added the event listener to. But the thing we actually clicked was the icon, which means that is the event target. Fortunately, we have event current target. And event current target is the thing that you are actually listening for the event on. So let's try that again. Let's click directly on the icon, and current target is still the button. So current target gets you the thing you are actually listening for the event to occur on, not necessarily the most specific thing that the event did occur on. Because what happens when an event occurs is it checks that object for an event listener. We clicked on the pencil, right? So it checks to see if there's an event listener on the icon element. If there's not, then it goes up the tree and checks whether there was an event listener on its parent, the parent being the button. And there it finds one. So it goes ahead and calls the event handler. And the target will still be the thing that you specifically clicked on, but the current target will be the thing that it was checking when it actually found an event listener. So in short, current target is usually what you actually want to check, because that's the thing that actually triggered the running of this method. So current target's what we want. And now we have the button, so we can do things to the button. So what do I want to do? When it becomes editable, I think I probably don't want the pencil on there anymore. I want something like a check mark. Let's see, what do we have here? Lots of check marks. In circles, in squares. I think just plain old check is good. So, I want the actual icon, right? So having gotten the button, I could say, look inside the button for an I element with an FA class. And I know that'll be the actual icon, right? So after we've made it editable, we focused it. I want to take the icon and I want to remove the class FA pencil. So class list remove. And then I want to add class list add FA check. FA is still there. And I think I want to turn it from blue to green. And buttons in Foundation, if we look at the button colors, primary, secondary, success. Success is what I want. So I will also, on the button itself, not the icon, I will add the class success. Click. Yay. It turned green and it replaced that with a check. Now I want the opposite to happen if I click it again and it becomes uneditable. So this time, icon, class list, remove FA check, icon, class list, remove success, and class list, add FA pencil. Take the check mark out, add the pencil in, and we don't want it to be green anymore. Click it once, it's editable, my cursor's in there, this is green, it changed to a check mark. Click it again, up, and we got the pencil back, but it is the button from which we want to remove the success class, not the icon. And I'll go ahead and put those in the opposite order. Do all my icon business first. Now, turns green, turns back blue. And the icon changes. And it becomes focused and editable. And now it isn't anymore. Cool. But we're not actually doing anything with the edits that they make, right? So let's do that next.